On May 25, 2020, George Floyd's life was unjustly taken away from him simply because of the color of his skin.
George Floyd repeatedly told the officers that he could not breathe.
This is unacceptable.
This is inexcusable.
We cannot tolerate this type of injustice any longer.
There have been far too many instances of innocent Black Americans losing their lives for fabricated crimes
they did not commit,
Or because of extreme punishments for minor offenses.
The violence has gone on for too long in our country, and it is way past time for it to stop.
A study done by the New York Times showed that police officers are 7 times more likely to use force on Black Americans than white Americans.
And Black Americans are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police brutality in the United States than white Americans.
In 1865, the 13th Amendment was passed, and slavery was abolished in the United States, except as a punishment for crime.
This didn't solve the problem of slavery, but merely shifted the way it worked.
Inequities and racism in our judicial system and law enforcement too often punish people of color disproportionately.
White supremacism and continued brutality towards Black people still ruled the country, and racist attitudes were strengthened and reinforced.
The Civil Rights Act was passed in 1968, which outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin.
It abolished harsh Jim Crow laws that had been in place to intimidate Black Americans for years and fuel white supremacy.
Racist attitudes still prevailed, and the problem was still not solved.
We shouldn't still have to fight the same fight all these years later.
Racism, inequality, injustice, and brutality towards minorities have been accepted behaviors in the United States for its entire existence.
It's time for a real change.
There is no time or place for racism, inequality, injustice, or brutality, and there never should have been.
It's time to speak up.
It's time to make a change.
We can no longer live in a country where Black Americans are systematically oppressed.
We can't live in a society that is designed against people of color.
We can't live in a place where Black Americans are treated unfairly, discriminated against, and forced to be second-class citizens in their own country.
We cannot be neutral.
Silence is violence.
It is time for us to step up and be leaders in the fight and empower those around us to do the same.
We need to use our privilege to end the hatred experienced by our Black community members once and for all.
George Floyd.
Jamar Clark.
Rayshard Brooks.
Tamir Rice.
Eric Garner.
Sandra Bland.
Ahmaud Arbery.
Breonna Taylor.
Alton Sterling.
Freddie Gray.
Ralph Bell.
Michael Brown.
Laquan McDonald.
Brian Quinones.
Walter Scott.
Trayvon Martin.
John Crawford.
Sadly, these are just a few of the names of people who have been killed as a result of racism and police brutality.
This has to end.
We can't afford one more life lost to violence and racism.
It's time to stand up and do our part in the fight against racism.
It's time to join in the fight and support the Black American community.
We stand with the members of the Black American community.
We will never understand what people of color go through as citizens of the United States, but we need to do everything we can to create change.
We see you.
We hear you.
We support you.
This problem will not be solved with hatred, but rather with love, peace, and justice.
This problem will not be solved until we come together and make the decision to stand up against racism.
As a team, we promise to do better.
To be a better ally.
To educate ourselves and others.
To have the difficult conversations.
To vote.
To stand up for others.
To advocate for change.
And to do anything else we can to help.
We pledge to do better.
Signed,
Amanda Fillard.
Lauren Diggin.
Hannah Baddock.
Bev Jarinos.
Larissa Biette.
Kylie Gorgani.
Alyssa Worthington.
Haley Louie.
Mariella Mealy.
Lindsay Ayat.
Alexandra Kusich.
Colleen Adario.
Hannah Roderick.
Robin Kelly.
Casey Whitehead.
Kylie Crutchwell.
Not only do Black lives matter,
they are important.
They are valued.
They are needed.
And they are loved.
We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back.